So what all of this does is it, on a more general level, is it makes it possible to believe, as long as we accept these things that we're being told about what markets and ecology are like, it helps us to come to conclusions like we can help end global warming by drinking a particular brand of coffee, or we can protect biodiversity by purchasing things with a credit card that has a logo of a conservation NGO on it, or that we can offset the carbon emissions that we created by coming to this Congress by making a payment on a website. None of these things are verifiable. They're things that require a leap of faith, which many, many people make. That's how all of this works. So what it then does is it creates the idea of a mitigation service, whereby the social and environmental damage caused by things like oil exploration, mining, and so forth can be offset by the conservation of nature in other contexts. And this is a increasingly common idea within, for instance, the World Bank and what the World Bank does. So what Michelle was talking about earlier, these two types of landscapes of displacement, the ones that produce things and the ones that are set aside for conservation and also ecotourism, are now being conceptualized as having a relationship to one another, which is that if we mess up the environment by looking for oil, as long as we set aside some land to offset that, then things are fine. What do I have left here? 1 minute. Okay. Well, conceptually, that's what I wanted to say. Now, I've done a lot of research on specific impacts that this has had in different communities, which I don't have time to talk about. But what I've seen over and over again is that this sort of idea of how things should work is very much at odds with what actually happens in real communities. And it has the effect not only of displacing people, but also of displacing their relationship to the environment and their embodied ecological knowledge. So in the process, and this is what's most concerning to me ultimately, in the process, what I'm concerned about is, in terms of our ability to learn, and I'm talking in a global way, if we're trying to create a body of knowledge that's sort of universal in terms of it saying the only way to save the environment is through these sorts of mechanisms, and this displaces all other systems of knowledge. If at some point people realize, which I hope they will, that this isn't working out, and in fact it's very, very damaging, we need to have alternative systems of understanding to turn to. And if they've mostly been displaced, then there isn't going to be a lot that we'll have to draw from. There's much else that can be said about this, but I assume that lots of other people are going to say it, so I'll stop there.
Thank you very much, Jan and Jim, for opening up this important discussion. We'll revisit some of the themes that you've touched on. There will be time for further clarification and maybe adding some of the points that I'm sorry I've had to cut off for time constraint reasons.